Rain was pouring heavily the morning Emily Carter walked into the divorce office, clutching a tiny baby wrapped in a soft gray blanket. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from the storm raging inside her heart. The receptionist glanced up, surprised to see a young woman with tearful eyes and a newborn in her arms. Emily took a slow breath and whispered, "I'm here to finalize my divorce." But what she didn't know was that inside the conference room sat her wealthy husband Daniel Whitmore, laughing with his glamorous new fiancée. 3 years earlier, Emily had believed she was the luckiest woman alive. She had met Daniel Whitmore at a charity event in New York. Daniel was a successful businessman, young, confident, and already the CEO of a fast-growing tech company. When he first spoke to her, he seemed different from the other wealthy men in the room. He listened when she talked. He laughed at her jokes, and before long he was asking her out to dinner. Their relationship moved quickly. Daniel showered Emily with affection, gifts, and promises. Within a year they were married in a beautiful ceremony overlooking the ocean. Emily truly believed she had found the man she would grow old with. But after the wedding, things slowly began to change. Daniel became distant. His business expanded rapidly, and he spent more time traveling, attending parties, and meeting new investors. Emily often waited alone in their huge mansion, staring at the empty dining table where they once shared laughter. Then came the night that shattered her heart. Daniel returned home late, smelling of expensive perfume that wasn't hers. Emily confronted him, her voice shaking. At first he denied everything, but the truth eventually came out. There was another woman. Her name was Sophia Bennett, a young socialite who had been appearing at the same elite events as Daniel. Beautiful, confident, and ambitious, Sophia quickly became the center of Daniel's attention. Emily tried to save the marriage. She suggested counseling, begged him to remember their vows, and reminded him of the love they once shared. But Daniel had already made his choice. One cold evening, he looked at Emily with an emotionless expression and said the words that would change her life forever. "I think we should get divorced." Emily felt like the ground disappeared beneath her feet. At that moment, Daniel didn't know something that Emily had just discovered days earlier. She was pregnant. Instead of telling him, Emily quietly packed her things and left the mansion. She moved into a small apartment across the city and tried to rebuild her life piece by piece. The pregnancy was difficult, both physically and emotionally. There were nights when she cried herself to sleep, wondering how the man who once promised to protect her could abandon her so easily. But every time she felt like giving up, she placed her hand on her stomach and whispered, "I'll be strong for you." Months passed, and eventually Emily gave birth to a beautiful baby boy she named Noah. Holding Noah for the first time gave Emily a strength she didn't know she had. Meanwhile, Daniel's life looked perfect on the outside. His company reached new financial heights, luxury magazines featured his glamorous lifestyle, and his relationship with Sophia became public. Within a year, Sophia was already wearing a large diamond ring. But Daniel never truly felt peace. Late at night, when the parties ended and the mansion fell silent, something inside him felt empty. He often found himself thinking about Emily, her kindness, her quiet patience, the way she believed in him when no one else did. Still, his pride kept him from reaching out. Until the morning, everything changed. The divorce hearing had finally arrived. Daniel sat confidently beside Sophia in the lawyer's office. Sophia scrolled through her phone, occasionally whispering about wedding plans. Daniel barely listened. His mind wandered as he stared at the door. Then it opened. Emily walked in. The room suddenly fell silent. Daniel's eyes widened as he noticed the baby in her arms. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. "Emily," he whispered. She stepped forward calmly, though her heart pounded like thunder. The baby stirred softly in her arms. "This is Noah," she said quietly. Daniel stared at the tiny face wrapped in the blanket. His voice cracked. Is he mine?" Emily looked directly into his eyes. "Yes." The room felt frozen in time. Sophia's expression instantly changed from confidence to shock. She turned toward Daniel, waiting for him to deny it, to say something that would dismiss the situation. But Daniel couldn't take his eyes off the baby. Slowly, he stood up and walked closer. Noah's small hand peeked out of the blanket, tiny fingers curling in the air. Daniel felt his chest tighten with an emotion he hadn't expected. Tears. He reached out carefully, touching Noah's little hand. And in that moment, the powerful CEO who controlled billion-dollar deals broke down crying. "I didn't know," Daniel whispered, his voice shaking. "Emily, why didn't you tell me?" Emily's eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady. "Because the man I loved was already gone." Those words hit Daniel harder than anything else ever had. For the first time, he truly saw the pain he had caused. Sophia stood up abruptly, furious and humiliated. "Daniel, we're leaving," she snapped. But Daniel didn't move. He kept looking at Noah. Something inside him had shifted, something deeper than pride, money, or status. Emily finally placed the divorce papers on the table. "I didn't come here to change your life," she said softly. "I came to finish this chapter of mine." Daniel wiped his tears, staring at the baby who carried his eyes. At that moment, he realized the greatest mistake of his life wasn't losing a wife. It was abandoning a family. The room was silent except for Noah's soft breathing. And for the first time in years, Daniel Whitmore understood that success, wealth, and luxury meant nothing compared to the love he had thrown away. Emily turned toward the door, ready to walk out and build a new life for herself and her son. But Daniel's voice stopped her. "Emily, please wait." Whether forgiveness was possible or not, Daniel knew one thing for certain. The story of their family wasn't over yet. And sometimes, the most powerful moments in life happen not when everything goes right, but when someone finally realizes the value of what they almost lost for